it's your girl Chef Kyra, and welcome back to another episode of New York Eats. Welcome to my food channel where we talk about everything nice, sugar and spice, baby. So I know I've been offline for about a week now. I want to appreciate everybody that did give a thumbs up and a like for my little short when I wasn't feeling good and had my little cold that I had. But shorty's back in business and we back to regular programming. So with all that being said, for this episode we are going to be making something really complex, but it's gonna be fun, right? So we are going to be making some pork soup dumplings, y'all. And I want to be clear, it's not going to be dumplings inside soup, it's going to be soup inside the dumpling, okay? This is, of course, as you already know, an Asian dish, and it just looks like so much fun to eat and to make, and I'm so excited, y'all. So with all that being said, let's just get to the first step of the video. It's gonna be like a two-part series video, just because like the first part, you know, you gotta get that situated before you move on to the dumpling part. So let's get started. All right, y'all, so as y'all already know, we always do the ingredients before we start anything. So I was able to go to the supermarket real quick, and like literally like 5 minutes ago before I started this video, but I picked up some scallions or green onion. I also have some lemongrass here. I wanted to get fresh lemongrass, but they didn't have any, so I got some lemongrass paste. And we have some fresh ginger, some whole peppercorn, and some pork shoulder. They didn't have any of the pork butt, so I just went with the pork shoulder. And y'all, $8, okay? Not bad at all. Recipe, I'm just gonna use one big knob of ginger, and I don't want to use the rest of this because I don't want things to be like super duper overpowered with ginger. I'm just gonna break off some of the excess pieces into smaller pieces, and you're just gonna take your spoon as per usual and take the edge of the spoon and peel the skin off. And so we're just gonna prepare our aromatics first and then get the pork situated. Now that we have this piece of ginger pretty much peeled for the most part, I'm just gonna slice into the ginger and cut it up into nice little chunks like that. It doesn't have to be perfect, and that's pretty much it. I'm gonna finish off peeling this and getting that cut up, and then we'll move on to the next step. So that's about how much ginger you want to have for this recipe. And like I said, they're cut up in big chunks. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now for the scallions, I'm just gonna cut the ends off, put those off to the side. And you want about one whole stalk or bundle of scallions. So this is perfect. And like I said, these cuts don't have to be perfect. If you want to practice your cuts, you know, you're more than welcome to, but it really doesn't have to be that perfect. So I've added about 4 to 5, 6 cloves of garlic. I have my scallions, and then I also have the ginger at the bottom. A part of what we're gonna do to flavor the stock, or what's gonna be our aromatics, is gonna be some whole peppercorn, so I'm just gonna put that here. And then lastly is gonna be the lemongrass, like I said, to really brighten things up and allow for complex flavor. So now we have our pork shoulder, and I'm just gonna cut this up and cut it open. Now that we have this big bad boy opened up and ready to go, all of this that you guys see right here in the industry, all of this white stuff and this skin right here, we call that the fat cap, which is really good stuff, and that's what like helps bring so much flavor. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just taking my knife and running it along the meat, and as I continue to cut, I'm going to peel the skin back. And we want all of this skin and this fat because this is what's gonna cause for our we call it soup, but it's, you know, it's gonna be broth, to have that gelatinous. So it's gonna be very similar to how Jello is. And once we have this cut off, then I'm gonna flip it over and start to carve around and get the actual you know, meat part of the pork. So I'm just gonna have this turn towards me, and when you do this part, you always want to take the tip of your knife so that you're not necessarily cutting into the actual flesh, and you just want to cut and peel back, and it just, I mean, it just comes off like butter, let me tell you. So after so many years of being in the industry, and you know, I can't say that I have everything under my belt, but the times that I have, you know, had to cut meat, you know, in class, or either, you know, I'm working at a certain restaurant, you know, you learn these things. So I make it look fairly easy. And look at that, you're barely cutting into the meat. You're just pulling this back, and that's what you want, because this is what we're looking for. And quite honestly, I don't think I'm gonna cut the whole thing off, because I could do something else with this once it's done. So, you know, if you end up getting this, depending on how many people you're cooking for, about right there is what's good enough. So we just gonna cut that amount of fat off, and like I said, as long as you continue to keep running your blade down, you'll be able to cut through it with no problem. If you aren't so skilled with the knife, you could always, you know, go to your local butcher shop, or even the butcher part of your supermarket, and have them, you know, give you these selected pieces that you'll need. So here we go. Boom, look at that, simple and easy. This is what we want, right? And now I'm just gonna take my knife and start running through the flesh of the pork to get some chunks of meat. And the rest of this, like I said, I'll probably make some pernil, or figure out what kind of recipe I want to follow, you know, after carving off what I need, because it is a large chunk of meat and I don't need, you know, all of it. And you just want to continue to keep just slicing down until you hit a bone, or until you get to the very end of it. And take it and just keep slicing, y'all. Alright, y'all, so I've got my pan heating up, and what we're gonna do is just add these chunks of meat into the pan and sear them off. Now with this part, we're not gonna fully cook the pork. We're just gonna get a nice sear on the outside. Get those juices going, get the pork going, let all those flavors get going. For this part, I would definitely have your pan or your fire on a really high heat. And we are going to just sear this off. Once they're seared off on all sides, we're gonna remove them. Then we're gonna add our aromatics, toast that up, then add our seared meat back in, and then lastly we're gonna add our fat caps in at the very end. Cover everything with water and let it go for itself. Alright y'all, so it's been searing on one side for about, I don't know, about a minute and a half, 2 minutes. So you want a nice sear just like this. If I could just get it out of the pot for y'all to see. But you want a nice sear just like that. And now we're just gonna sear on the other side. Once that's done, we'll take these back out, put them off to the side, and get to our aromatics. Alright y'all, so all that delicious goodness that's in the pot right now, you want to leave that in there. And we are gonna put in our aromatics, which is the garlic, scallions, and ginger. And we're just gonna roast this for a little bit just to get those juices flowing, get all of those flavors going, and then we're gonna add the pork back in. And it's okay if you have a little char on your scallions or even your ginger. I'm just going to open up our lemongrass. I really wanted to do fresh lemongrass, but I wasn't able to find any, so something is better than nothing. I'm just going to add a little touch of that. Now we have our peppercorns. I'm just going to add a couple of these. Not too much, but just enough to, you know, make sure we have a good amount of flavor. That's pretty much good enough. And now what we're going to do is add our pieces of pork back in. Good guys. Now we're just gonna cover all of this goodness with water. We want to make sure until our pot is nice and full, because we want as much broth as we can possibly get. I'm just going to add a little bit more of the lemongrass, just because I really want that brightness to come through. So you can add a couple more squeezes of it to the pot and mix everything around. And the last thing that we want to add is our fat cap. So we're just gonna stick that bad boy right in there, and that is pretty much it, y'all. We have all of our ingredients ready to go. You don't want to add any salt. We'll add salt towards the ending, very little. And like I said, this is, you know, salt is just a flavor enhancer, so we don't want to add salt now. And then we're also gonna have salt in the, you know, ground pork mixture for the dumpling, so you don't want to overwhelm it. And you just want to add salt to highlight those flavors that are going to come through, and to just really bring them out, so that when you do taste the soup broth mixture, all of the elements come through, and it's not salty that you're getting. You're just getting all of what has been put inside. So now I'm just gonna cover this with a top, and we're gonna let this go for about, I don't know, maybe about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Basically what we're looking to do is have all of this liquid that we have here now reduce into this strong, delicious flavor, and that is what's going to be our soup. So this is just the first part of making our pork soup dumplings, and we're going to come back and check everything out once everything is reduced. And once that's done, we're going to strain everything off and strain everything out, so that we have just pure liquid. And once that is situated, then we're going to let it cool and stick that in a refrigerator and let it cool even more. And then as time goes on and it cools off, the liquid will become gelatinous, and it'll become like a meat jello basically. And once we have that, then we can move on to the second part of actually preparing the dumplings and steaming them. Alright y'all, so now as you can see, we have reduced by a lot, and then you got all that deliciousness, all of the fat that came off the meat, and everything is nice and cooked down. So what we're going to do is we're going to strain it now. I have a fine mesh strainer right here, and I'm just going to set that on top just like that, and pour this through. And I'm just going to pour that into our strainer. This is what we have as our liquid gold, y'all. It's perfect. Let me just give y'all a better close-up. Like, this is our liquid gold. So we are just going to transfer this over. But before we do that, we're gonna add some salt so that we can enhance the flavor. And I just want to add just a little bit of salt. I don't want to add too much, because like I said, you're going to be seasoning the ground pork and everything else. My little square pan, and I'm just going to pour this liquid into this pan. And so this is going to be our little pan that is going to make our soup basically. So I'm going to let this cool off for a little bit outside of the fridge, and then I'm going to take it and put it in the fridge. And as it cools off throughout the night, being in the fridge, like I said, all of that fat, you know, and just all of the different things that was incorporated, but mostly the fat, is going to allow it to solidify overnight, and it's going to be like a pork jello basically. So this morning I got up and I checked on our broth. It was gelatinous, but it wasn't gelatinous enough for what we're trying to do. So I ran to the supermarket before having to go out and do some Instacart, and I got some gelatin packets, just plain, right? Because we don't want any like cherry flavored or banana flavored gelatin and added 1 pack. So I think that'll definitely tighten it up a bit, because for what we're doing, you want it to be tight but not too tight. So I already heated it up, added the gelatin, and now it's kind of like cooling off. Then I'm gonna put it back in the fridge, let it do what it do, and then by tonight, when I finish filming and doing the second part of the video, hopefully it'll be a lot better. So you live and you learn. But if you guys end up having a complication with it where you can't really tap it out of the container, and it's not like, it's just like all over the place, it's still very loose, it's like jiggly but it's also watery at the same time, you don't want that. So I would advise just adding gelatin, which is just basically what we were kind of like, you know, extracting from the pieces that we did put in yesterday, and it should definitely tighten up. So we got that done. Mad stress, but it's done. So I'll see y'all for the part 2.